It's that time again, time to ask that age-old question of how bad can it be? And we're asking it about a pretty obscure trio of films from the UK called The Tooth Fairy. I'm hoping that this one's not too tough to get through. And what is that sound?
We kick off back in 2019 with The Tooth Fairy, which starts off well enough with a bunch of kids chased by a mysterious figure who, appears to be wearing a Halloween mask with some well-used chase music. And then jumps ahead 30 years later. And wait a minute. This is Jen. She's one of the kids from the beginning. She's now grown up. And this guy is supposed to be her dad. For real. They appear to be the same age. He possibly looks like he might be younger than her. But I guess he has some white dye in his hair and talks like this.
You know where I am.
So clearly, he's an old man, right?
Could they not find an actor in his 60s? I mean, Jen was like 10 in the intro, so she's around 40 or so here. So this dad is like late 50s or early 60s or so. I mean, is that like something that's hard to cast for? Between Robert Duvall and this, is there some sort of lack of older actors in the UK that I don't know about? And then, hold up, we meet Jen's daughter and grandkid. This woman here is the daughter of this woman here.
There's just so much to unpack here.
Corey is like 10 years old, which means that he was born when Jen was 30. So the only thing that works out here is that Jen had a kid at like 15, and so did her daughter, which means that this character here is supposed to be around 25 or so. But again,
to stress this
character is the mother to this character and grandmother to this character, and this 20-something-year-old man is Corey's great-grandfather.
This is fascinating.
I guess Corey is not actually Carla's kid, but it is her nephew because the sister, Corey's mother, has died, so that throws another kid into this whole time configuration, and I have no idea what the age range thing is supposed to be here, because that means that either Jen had Carla here at earlier than 15 years old, or that Carla is supposed to be younger than 25 years old. You decide. The Tooth Fairy is back, and she wants teeth, of course, and Jen says that she was 10 years old in the intro, so yeah, she's definitely 40 years old. TF can appear as anyone that she wants and starts collecting the family. And one thing this movie did not skimp out on was the music budget. It's pretty good stuff. I don't know if it's original music or just stock music that they just really integrated well, but it's effective.
Son!
They tell the story of Tooth, who was called up by Jen's great-grandmother and is now here for revenge. And while looking online, Carla finds information and, oh man, Sean C. Phillips, huh? Is he like in all of these backyard horror movies? He says that the only way to keep Tooth away is using sugar, and then Corey is confirmed on this video to be 9, which doesn't fix anything. It's just makes either Jen or Maura 16 instead of 15 when they had their kid. Tooth continues her terrors, and yeah, it's just really hard to get past a simple Halloween mask here. It's just not intimidating at all. There's also the weird revelation that Joe is Corey's dad, which was implied, but now I outright said. And those are some recessive genes then. And then Carla calls this guy father, so I don't know, maybe he's Jen's husband. Carla's dad, or do they call grandfather's father in the UK? Well, why is this so confusing? He gets killed with a toothbrush because occasionally I think that they were going for some sort of goofier tone, but not really. I mean, some parts seem silly, but it's all played completely straight. They fight a tooth with candy and squirt guns filled with soda and then burn her, and Jen sacrifices herself to make sure that the curse is ended. There's no date in this one, but considering the embedded YouTube page formatting and everyone having smartphones, it's probably current times, so maybe 2019? A mere 1 year later, and a sequel appeared with Tooth Fairy 2, The Root of Evil, or just Return of the Tooth Fairy, again directed by Louisa Warren, and apparently little kids can just call up Tooth with some candies and some Latin written in a notebook. The fairy's back looking as silly as ever, like is this supposed to be a mask, or is this her face? So Corey's back, but he's much older now, so quite a bit of time has passed in between movies, and his laptop tells us that it's August 25th, 2019. So this film is set in 2019, which means that the first one was in the past, so I guess we'll see if we can figure out how long ago it was supposed to be. And then this dude says that the teeth murders were about 20 years ago, which is just a heap of problems, because that means that the first film was set around 1999. And yeah, iPhones weren't around at that point. YouTube wasn't even launched yet, so that messes that up. And then this guy says that they're having a 5-year reunion from the class of 2014, so it's definitely 2019. Corey starts to lose it a bit, and then they do the ritual to call the toothy one up, and it works, and really, I just can't take this thing seriously. I mean, some special effects guy came up to them with this and said, here's your monster. And they looked at it, and they said, oh yeah, that will work. Let's make sure to light it as much as possible so that you can clearly see it. I mean, in this shot, the mesh over the eyes are clearly visible, so I guess it's supposed to be a mask? Things get weird when she starts shooting the victims, and in this shot you can clearly see blonde hair under the hood, so I guess it actually is a mask this time, and everyone is killed, so their plan becomes to use the book to call another demon called the Collector to come and fight Tooth. It works, and then he appears, basically a guy in a cloak, and drags her away, and it jumps ahead 3 months. But Corey's under the sway of the fairy now, and wait a minute, what was even up with the gun? Why did the demon just start shooting people all of a sudden? A demon from hell appears and has all these powers and has been going around just pulling out people's tooth?
But then just decides, nah, I'm gonna shoot some people now.
So no time was wasted at all, since earlier in 2021 we got the release of Tooth Fairy 3, The Last Extraction, again from Louisa Warren, and starts with 2 girls, and the book with the rituals in it, and they reference the ending of the last one.
Kunda, Astrata, Montus egres got, Nosvaratus kanda.
Wrong book, lady.
It looks like they have a new design for a TF, although it's just as blatantly a mask as the other one. And hold on, Corey's back, and he's now like another 20 years older, and he has a teenage daughter. I guess he didn't kill Jess at the ending of the last one, but she apparently died in childbirth. And Sally makes a point of saying she's almost 18, so this is about 19 years after the last film at a minimum. And Corey would be around 49 then, so this would be set around the year 2038 or so. Sally ends up with the book, and Sean Phillips shows up again, talking about current tooth fairy sightings, but wait, this is 40 years after Carla watched him in the first movie, and Sean hasn't aged a day. So is he
immortal in this continuity?
They then talk about the events of the last film, saying that they were 20 years ago, which actually makes this 2039 then, and over 3 movies that were released over the course of 3 years, these films have spanned about 70 years, and yet every one looks like it's set in modern times, so go figure. They call up the Tooth Fairy, saying that if a demon is taken to hell and escapes, it changes its appearance and becomes stronger, I guess explaining the new mask, and Toothy is trying to take Sally as its new mortal vessel.
Kill them all.
I am inevitable.
And I am Corey. This just doesn't have the same ring to it.
It takes her over and says it's been waiting over 30 years to collect the debt from his family, and again, based on their own timeline, it's like 70, and even if they were just talking about Corey, it's still about 40. They have a final scuffle in which Corey and Sally are apparently burned up, but the ending lets us know that there's more coming.
So there you have it. It's 3 movies that, yeah, I mean they're pretty bad. But there is, what is that sound? Yeah, I mean they're bad, but they're not like traditional bad. They're shot fairly well. The acting's not terrible. I mean, I wouldn't call it good acting, but it's certainly not awful acting. They're not quite boring enough to be dull, but they're also not interesting enough to really be interesting. Outside of all the weird casting choices, there's not a lot happening in here to really grab onto. They were fairly fun to watch just because there was some stuff to laugh at with just each new character coming out there and being confusing as to how they were setting this all up. And then with the weird time jumps, it was just such a strange thing to do for these movies, and to have that setting be a part of it, I thought that was very, very strange, but probably one of the only enjoyable things really in this series. Although, again, like I said, they're not horrible. I think they're all free to watch on Tubi or something like that, so if you get stuck watching them, you won't pull your eyeballs out. But if you pulled your eyeballs or your teeth out, what is that noise? It's freaking me out. Really bugging me. But let me know what you thought of these down below. Leave a like, comment, share this video out there, subscribe to the channel, and please check out my Patreon page. These guys over here do, and they're patrons of the channel, and they help keep this channel going, and you can too by going there and just becoming a patron. You get to participate in the Dead Last and all that good stuff. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it, and we'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.